When you wake up in the morning, before your feet hit the floor, before the world starts pulling at you from every direction, you've got to speak life into your own soul. Because the battlefield isn't out there, it's in here. And if you don't command your morning will command you. So here are 6 declarations to set your spirit on fire when you rise in the morning, before the noise of the world floods your ears, before the weight of yesterday tries to climb back onto your shoulders. You must declare war. Not with fists, not with weapons, but with words. Because the first battle of the day is not fought in traffic, not in the office, not in your bank account. It's fought in your mind. And if you don't speak life, the silence will speak lies. That's why self-affirmation isn't just a feel-good ritual, it's spiritual warfare. You see, the enemy doesn't need to destroy your body if he can dismantle your belief. He doesn't need to take your job if he can take your joy. He doesn't need to block your path if he can blind your vision. That's why every morning you've got to armor up with truth. You've got to speak to the storm before it speaks to you. You've got to remind your soul who you are, whose you are, and why you're still breathing. Because silence is permission, and you were never meant to be passive in your own life. The battlefield is invisible, but the damage is real. Doubt creeps in like fog. Fear whispers like a thief. Shame slithers like a serpent. And if you don't confront them with the sword of your own voice, they will build strongholds in your spirit. That's why your declarations matter. That's why your affirmations are not just poetic. They are prophetic. You're not just saying words. You're shaping worlds. You're not just encouraging yourself. You're enlisting heaven. When you say, I am chosen, you're not just boosting your mood, you're breaking chains. When you say, I am enough, you're not just calming your nerves, you're canceling every lie that told you otherwise. When you say, I am equipped, you're not just preparing for the day, you're prophesying victory over it. These are not empty phrases. These are loaded weapons. And every time you speak them, you're reclaiming territory the enemy tried to steal in your sleep. Don't underestimate the power of your own voice. It's not just for communication. It's for creation. God spoke the world into existence, and you, made in that image, have the power to speak your world into alignment. You don't need a crowd. You don't need applause. You don't need permission. You need conviction. You need consistency. You need to rise up every morning and say, this is the day I fight back with truth, with grace, with fire. Because the enemy doesn't take days off. Depression doesn't take holidays. Insecurity doesn't wait for a convenient moment. So why should you wait to speak power? Why should you wait to feel strong before you declare strength? No, you speak it until you see it. You declare it until you become it. You affirm it until it's no longer a whisper, but a roar. That's how you win the war before the battle even begins. And let me tell you, when you start your day with spiritual fire, everything else bows to it. Circumstances shift. Atmospheres change. People notice. Not because you're louder, because you're anchored. You walk different. You talk different. You carry yourself like someone who's been in the throne room before breakfast. That's what self-affirmation does. It doesn't just lift your spirit, it aligns your soul with heaven's agenda. So don't just sip your coffee and scroll your phone. Don't just rush out the door with your spirit half dressed. Stand tall. Speak loud. Declare war. Because your words are weapons and your morning is sacred. And if you win the first battle, the rest of the day has no choice but to follow. Words are not just sounds that pass through the air. They are blueprints. Every time you speak, you're laying down the architecture of your reality. You're either building a palace of purpose or a prison of limitation. That's why your morning declarations matter. Because before your hands build anything, your mouth builds everything. You don't live by what you see. You live by what you say. And if your words are small, your world will shrink to fit them. You've got to understand your tongue is a tool of creation. It's not just for communication, it's for construction. When you say, I am strong, you're not just describing yourself, you're designing yourself. When you say, I am worthy, you're not just expressing a feeling, you're establishing a foundation. The universe responds to your voice. Heaven moves when you speak with faith. Your words don't just echo, they activate. Too many people wake up and rehearse defeat before the day even begins. They say, I'm tired, I'm overwhelmed, I'm not good enough. And those words become the lens through which they see everything. But when you flip the script and say, I am equipped, I am favored, I am rising, you shift the atmosphere. You don't wait for the day to be good. You declare that it will be. You don't wait for peace to come. You speak it into existence. Your words are seeds, and every morning you're planting something, whether you realize it or not. If you plant fear, you'll harvest anxiety. If you plant doubt, you'll reap hesitation. But if you plant faith, you'll grow courage. If you plant gratitude, you'll harvest joy. That's why you've got to be intentional with your language. Because your mouth is a garden and your future is the fruit. Even science agrees. Your brain listens to your voice more than any other. Your nervous system responds to your own declarations. That means when you speak strength, your body aligns with it. When you speak peace, your heart slows down. When you speak clarity, your mind begins to organize. You're not just talking to yourself. You're training yourself. You're not just making noise, you're making moves. Think about it. Every great leader, every visionary, every trailblazer, before they changed the world, they changed their words. They spoke things that didn't exist yet. They declared outcomes that defied logic. They used their voice to carve paths where there were none. And you have that same power. You don't need a microphone. You don't need a platform. You just need conviction. You just need to believe that your words carry weight. So when you wake up, don't just speak casually. Speak strategically. Don't just say what you feel. Say what you want to feel. Don't just describe your situation. Declare your transformation. Your words are not mirrors, they're maps. They don't just reflect your reality, they redirect it. And if you want to go somewhere new, you've got to speak something new. Because the truth is, your mouth is either multiplying your miracles or magnifying your mess. And every morning, you get to choose. You get to decide whether your words will be weapons of warfare or whispers of worry. You get to decide whether your voice will echo heaven or echo fear. And once you understand that, you'll never speak carelessly again. So tomorrow morning, when the sun peeks through your window and the world starts whispering its doubts, you don't whisper back. You roar. You stand in front of that mirror not to reflect, but to remind. You speak not to be heard, but to become, because your voice is not just volume, it's victory. And your words are not just noise, they are naming your next season. Speak like someone who knows the heavens are listening. Declare like someone who knows the earth is responding. Prophecy like someone who's tired of living beneath their calling. Because when you speak with power, you don't just change your day, you shift your destiny. You don't just motivate your mind, you mobilize your spirit. And when your spirit moves, everything else follows. So rise up, speak up, and don't hold back, because the world doesn't need another echo, it needs your voice. And your voice, filled with truth, wrapped in fire, soaked in grace, is the sound that breaks chains, opens doors, and builds worlds. Now go speak like you mean it. Speak like you've seen the mountain move. Speak like you've walked through the fire and came out with authority. Because this morning isn't just another day. It's the day your words wake up your world.